guys, Lenny Reed, Dynomite Diesel Products, and I've got a friend of mine along with me today. His name is Bernie. He's got a shop in Kingston, Washington called Flying Wrench, and Bernie's not only a buddy, but he's also a customer, and I just wanted to kind of introduce him, let him talk to you, because he is a shop owner, I like to say that he's one of the guys on the front line dealing with the end users and the customers, and really get to know not just the product building side of it, but the customer service side of it as well, and how we're supposed to work together to sort of make your life easier, I guess. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your stuff. What do you got? Where you been? How long you been doing it? Things like that.
The business was started in 2002 by my father-in-law, mainly commercial and heavy equipment, and then when about 2010 we started moving into pickup trucks quite a bit.
Gotcha.
And then at that point we were mainly doing the dealership stuff and didn't really know much about the aftermarket world. And we when I bought the business, me and my wife bought the business from her dad. We ended up stumbling across Premier Performance.
Yep.
And that's when we started using your guys' products.
Gotcha.
And some of the other aftermarket stuff. The issues we had mainly prior to getting into the aftermarket world is warranty and warranty expense.
Sure.
You buy injectors from Ford doesn't pay any labor.
Right.
And the quality of parts, in my opinion, weren't really there.
So you were buying Ford parts across the Ford counter, still having some warranty issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, mainly 6.0, a lot of 6.0 warranty.
6 liters?
Yeah.
Gave you warranty issues?
Yeah, imagine that, right?
That's weird. That's so strange. Huh. All right, but they weren't covering warranty on labor either.
No labor. Right. And then it was nice when we started using your products, our injector warranty stopped.
Even on 6 liters?
Even on 6 liters.
And there is a couple of tricks that we do to sort of make that go away. And about what we've discovered is because Pure Power makes that part for them, and Pure Power does a really good job. But I would say that occasionally they would come in batches where we found some problems with the batch, and we weed those out here before we pass them off to you guys. So it's not like we're redesigning, revamping, and making the part altogether better, but there are just a couple of little things that are getting overlooked, and that's what you're not having to deal with now, is that stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I could see that happening.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, what we're doing with the column rail stuff is nice too. I got the 10 holes in my truck and couldn't be happier with them. It idles smooth, and
that's a 6.7 column rail.
6.7 column rail. Yeah.
Smoky?
Nope.
No smoke.
Nope. Prior it was super smoky. Trying to play in the lines of legality.
So with now I met you, I guess it was probably here first, right? Mm-hmm. So you came to dealer training with the Hunting for Horsepower event.
Yep.
And that would have been 2018 probably?
Mm-hmm. 18, yeah.
So 18, and then in 18 I didn't go on Premier Cruise, but you did.
Yep.
And that was Jamaica.
Yep.
Which sounds like it was the fun one that I missed.
Yeah, it was fun.
But one of my best buddies got married that year, so I had to go there instead. So even though it wasn't my wedding, I still got kind of jammed out of the good time. Damn you, Donovan. No, I think they're doing good, so I guess it's good that I made it to that. That being said, I did see you again it was Premier Cruise where we were in Panama. Mm-hmm. In Panama, that's always interesting because, again, if you make it on the Premier Cruise, you're obviously slinging some product. You're obviously doing business with Premier because you're within the top 100 customers of their base.
Yep.
So out there in Kingston, that's just on the peninsula of Washington State, right?
Yep. Yeah,
so
between the mountains, yeah.
Yeah. And because it goes like Squim and then Kingston. Yeah, because the ferry goes right to Kingston.
Yeah.
There's a cute little bar, like as soon as you get off the ferry, right on the left.
Yep. Filling station, yeah.
Okay, I made it there once. And then I jumped on the ferry and rode back. That was good, yeah. So out there in Kingston, what else? You said that you came from the heavy equipment side of stuff. Mm-hmm. So what do you mean by heavy equipment?
Well, fleet work. The old owner was a cat mechanic for a lot of years. That did A&P work after. Gotcha. And then when the 9/11 happened, he wanted to get out of the airline industry and came up and started the shop.
Okay.
So, when mainly, for the longest time, it was just all fleet work.
Right.
Whether it's, semi-trucks, equipment, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And lately with the pickup truck world is, I'm enjoying that work more than the commercial work, because the guy with this pickup truck, he's on vacation or doing what he's doing, breaks down, we fix it, he's happy, to where with the commercial guys, they're never happy about having to pay to get the trucks fixed, you know.
So that's something that I never even thought about in your world. Like you're in a really beautiful area of that state.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of islands, lots of water, lots of things to do out there on the peninsula. So you do get a lot of traffic for like people just there on vacations.
A lot of tourists, yeah.
So really, if you're buying stuff, some brands are awesome, like fantastic, like you just don't have problems with them. If you're buying stuff, I guess if a customer's there for a week or maybe 7 or 8, 9, 10 days on vacation, and you end up having to work on their truck, they're probably checking on their truck minute to minute, aren't they? And that's something that, you know, like when I was working on vehicles, we weren't in a tourist area. So you bring it in Monday and we call you when it's done. Mm-hmm. But since you're working on somebody's vacation vehicle oftentimes.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful. You know, we do a lot of RV work as well. So we have 30 amp hookups outside the shop. So if somebody's in.
At the shop?
Yeah.
So you're hooking them up, giving them air conditioning and the whole nine?
No, for the motorhome. So I just plug it in their shore power.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess they'd have.
It's 30 amp.
They'd have AC inside the motorhome.
Yeah, so they got 30 amp.
Oh, yeah.
So they can run one air conditioner on 30.
Oh, yeah.
Not two, but
yeah,
they can run one.
Yeah, we've been many jobs where customers sleeping out in the parking lot, you know. It's,
that's cool.
You tell them, hey, sorry, we start working at 7:30. And it's
right.
going to be noisy.
Tell them I'm going to have the coffee ready by 7 and get your undies back on because we don't want to see it.
Right, yeah.
That's gold. Huh. So as far as like, since you said you've been in pickup trucks since 2010?
Yeah, that's about the time we really got into them, yeah.
All right. And 2010, just repair, maintenance, service, things like
Correct,
that.
yeah.
And now you've really started to crack into the actual performance side.
Yeah. So we got an e-commerce site. The e-commerce site we started, and that's been, you know, its own trials and tribulations and the irritatingness of it all. But no, we're doing some performance stuff. You know, doing legal performance. You know, not doing the emissions deletes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just it's neat to be able to be in this part of the industry and the evolution that's going on right now with the technology.
Evolution's huge right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, seeing that the horsepower but being emissions compliant is really neat.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've said this before, like the early 80s were horrible. It was the worst era of the gasoline car. You know, smog pumps and catalytic converters and all that stuff was new. And engines went from like, you know, 375, 365, 4.25 horsepower, and they're down to like an anemic 165, 170 horsepower. And now, here we are 20 years later, 30, 40 years later, and you can go buy a turnkey 707 horsepower car. So technology is going to be there. And really, a lot of people, I feel like, hate, you know, the feds, and they hate the government because they're taking away their fun. Mm-hmm. And truthfully, honestly, I don't know that that's actually going to be truth forever. It took away what we would call the easy stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you and I were talking yesterday. You've been here, you flew into Spokane, I picked you up. You've been here for a little over 24 hours now. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you've gotten to see a lot of my daily life and the shop and the employees and how we operate here. You and I have also had some good discussions about things that you deal with in your daily compared to mine. Mm-hmm. And you've actually had some conversations with people about just fuel quality and the cetane.
Yep.
And how the cetane actually helps keep the emissions gear alive.
Oh, correct, yeah.
And the way that you presented it to me, like bells and whistles started going off, and it makes total sense. So, you know, kind of elaborate on that. Yeah, give me that speech again.
Well, yeah, basically my understanding of fuel quality and fuel levels with some of the Cummins training I did. You know, Cummins as a manufacturer on the commercial side, they want a cetane rating of around, you know, 60 parts per million. And the federal mandate, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's around 30 parts per million. You know, so literally half.
Yeah.
So,
and I know for a fact, because we have done some cetane testings just for like our sled pull trucks. Mm-hmm. PPL has like a minimum, and I believe they're PPL, Pro Pullers League, but they also recognize that cetane helps keep engines alive.
Oh, correct.
And yeah, from doing pump, like go to the pump around town, usually it's around 40 to 42, and if you get like a really good batch, it was like 45 points of cetane. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that the feds were in the 30s for requirement.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I read it somewhere at some point.
There is so much to do with DPFs and SCRs and cetane. Mm-hmm. I believe that thoroughly. Like, it's not just that, but the better the quality of fuel, the longer the emissions year is going to last, period. Mm-hmm. And also, not just that, but I've got a client that we're working with right now, and they own several semi-trucks. And some of those semi-trucks go through a lot more urea than others. They were bought in the same batch, they're the same year, make, model. Some of them are just worse on urea. So his initial thought was, I have a cowboy driving one, and I have a pretty conservative driver driving the other. So he swaps drivers, and the truck that constantly uses more urea and gives them more like emissions headaches, no matter who drives it, that truck just spends more time off the road getting fixed. And that leads me to my belief, which is injection quantity and injection speed, that's critical. And when you're making several thousand units of injectors per day, the target in which it's good or bad, the target's fairly large. Like almost anybody hits it.
Yeah.
But because we know that DPFs, things like that, hard parts are very consistent. Once you make one, it's made. But when you're talking about fuel calibration, you calibrate an injector and there's a bunch of magic that goes on inside the injector, and you've gotten 24 hours here to kind of see that now.
Yeah.
I thoroughly believe that by us tightening up those windows and not just honing in on the center point of that window, but moving that center point as well, because we've discovered in our own drivings, like that currently my 2019 has bone stock injectors back in it. So I drove it bone stock. It got horrible. The urea consumption was enormous. Like every time I towed, I was constantly pulling over and that's the number one complaint I have against an emissions equipped vehicle is not the fact that it has less power. It's not the fact that I hate it when my Bluetooth works correctly and I can actually talk to somebody on the phone and they can hear me. It's not that. It's when I fill up using the stupid 2.5 gallon jug and the little plastic thingy. Like you go to pull it back out and you're like prepared, so you're trying. It's like when you got a baby on the table and a little boy, and you're like, I know he's gonna pee on me, so you try and protect from using the diaper, and you end up getting pee on you anyway. You just throw the kid off the side. But that little wand, like it pops out and then the crap flies in the air and then it lands on your face, it lands on your truck, and you're like, I hate this. So I try to always schedule my urea stops wherever it's at a truck stop, and I can just grab the pump handle, and instead of, I fill it with a 2.5, and then I crack the other 2.5, and then I'm pouring the stuff on my toes because it fills up the tank, and my plastic jug doesn't know it's almost full, so it spills out and then gets inside the filler neck, and it's just crusty and nasty. So I really do my best to try and not ever use those plastic jugs. So I go to like the Love's truck stops and the bigger rig stops. There's one right here, Lancaster Markets, where I go. Those guys are, I go up, I put 4.2 gallons in or whatever it is, 3.8, 3.7. I record the mileage, I put it in, down the road I go.
Well, and one thing we see a lot is guys are letting the DEF tanks get awful low because the same thing. It's a hassle to fill them, and they get DEF quality, crystallization, DEF heaters die, and that's one of our pretty regular repairs at the shop.
Seriously?
DEF systems. Oh yeah.
And you're not in a cold climate either.
No.
And I've heard others that are in, and I don't know if this is true or not. I've never lived in Antarctica or in Canada, but when it's like minus 30, minus 40, those guys struggle to keep DEF even as a liquid.
Oh, I'm sure they do. You read any articles from like the oil fields in North Dakota in the winter, just keeping diesel from not gelling is a big deal, right? Frozen airlines, that kind of stuff on the commercial world. Any moisture will, freeze.
So you've actually seen it to where just the heaters get goofed up.
Oh yeah.
Probably because the tank gets run too often, too low.
Yep.
That's a good point, and I could totally bite on that because if the tank's full all the time, then the heater's going to be sloshing warm fluid around. But obviously, like no matter where that heater's located, we know that DEF, when it dries out, gets all crystal. So if that heater isn't submerged in fluid all the time, then it's going to crystallize and it's going to short circuit itself out.
Yep.
That's a good call. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I usually tell customers if you have DEF on your DEF vehicle, if you're half tank, you're getting close to empty. Because that's the last thing you want to do is run out.
No,
and if you do run out, it's be the worst spot, right?
Murphy's
law.
Yeah. Like you never need windshield wipers till you need windshield wipers.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point, and I'm going to actually use that with our crew and our customers as well, because I've never had any issues And I've been driving, legal vehicles for years now. And I've never had any issues with any of that stuff. Whenever the tank gets kind of lowish, like I never fill up diesel. I run out 2 or 3, 4 times a year, honestly. But the DEF, like I actually keep that, at least a quarter tank or more all the time. Because I know that the last thing I want to do is I want to pull into a Napa store or an O'Reilly store, and I hate walking in there and paying. I mean, a bucket of that's what, $20, $12, $14.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
And you go to the pump and it's $2.50 a gallon.
Yeah.
So not only am I saving just an immense amount of money, not only am I, like, I get a 2.5 in there, and then the next 2.5 doesn't fit. So then I have to like close up the cap. The white crap's going to crystallize and slosh around the bed of my truck. I slam on the brakes, the box opens up, now I hate it.
Yeah.
So I try not to use those jugs. Plus, I'm a very emissions-friendly guy with a green footprint, trying to leave the best planet behind I can, aka I don't want to use their cardboard and their plastic jugs.
Correct, yeah.
Like I drink my coffee out of the same mug every day. I don't get plastic cups. I mean, most of that's kind of true. No, but I think that's actually a good thing for even customers out there to think of as that. I definitely bite on that.
Yeah.
I would say that's going to help the heater life out a lot.
Oh, definitely. We see the worst things that we see is motorhomes with the DEF systems on it. Because they're really only used part of the year.
Yeah.
And the DEF sits in there and
they sit forever.
Crystallizes, get gross. Take a trip to go see the grandkids, and on the way back, it's in limp mode. And luckily, a lot of times you can force a regen or do some test with the DEF system, replace the doser and stuff like that as needed. But like motorhomes are absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible for the emission systems. They're only temporarily used. Maybe 2, 3, 4 times a year.
Is it possible that your crew or you in the next few days could send us some pictures of heaters that are covered in crystal?
I'll check and see if we have any around the shop.
That'd be awesome, because if you do, I'd like to attach that with this, so people could see kind of what we're talking about, and then understand, like, if they keep that tank, this won't happen to you.
Yeah.
So
look around the shop. We try to keep the shop as spick and span as we can.
Sure.
There's a lot going on up there.
Yeah, because you've got a lot of employees there too, right?
Yeah, it's 15 including me.
15 with you.
Me and the wife.
A lot of guys.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guys and one gal.
Yeah. We got 2. My wife and Megan are the run the back office stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's a great crew. A group of guys, trustworthy. Nobody's worried about locking up their tools, which is huge in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to I mean, that's a whole new conversation. But if you've got a crew that blends well and leadership that leads well, things seem to go pretty smooth. And I've been in business long enough now to know that when I was younger, I wasn't a great leader. I just wanted to do, and I struggled with the crew all the time because I never really told them what they needed to do, where they needed to be, when they needed to get it done, how I expected it to get done. I just lost my mind whenever it wasn't done the way I visioned it. And they were like, man, this guy's a jerk because he doesn't tell me anything until it's too late. And now that I get older, I'm hanging out with older people like you, and everybody's lives are just smoother now. I'm thinking, man, it's cool. Like, everybody got it and figured it out. But yeah, it does take some age and some maturity, I think, to really get it done.
There's always trials and tribulations, but trying to see the glass half full as often as you can,
Yeah. Well, so being in business now, even with the emissions stuff, well, let me ask you that. Now that you're not doing any emissions delete stuff, now that most people on the planet really are.
Yeah, we were never. That was never something that we did.
Good.
Which
All
is
right.
good.
That being said, you're still on Google. You're still in the phone book per se.
Yep.
People are still calling and searching it out. How often do you get that call?
7 to 8 times a week.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So there's basically 8 potential people out there looking to have it done still today.
Yep.
The one thing that those people don't really grasp yet is, when you total a vehicle, like if you and I, we go out and we smash something up and it totals, the insurance company calls it a total, we could put it back together perfectly. Like, never a scratch or a dent ever to be found on this vehicle ever again. But when the title comes back from the insurance company, it says that it's been rebuilt. So when we go and we trade that vehicle in, it's worth basically 50 cents on the buck.
Yep.
So we got this $90,000 truck that we paid for brand new, $90K. We total it. Title now says rebuilt. We make it absolutely perfect. We go to trade the truck in 2 years or a year. Whatever NADA Kelly Blue Book is, it's worth 50 cents on the dollar. Mm-hmm. So that really stings because now we've got this perfect truck that's worth half. And the one thing that people don't grasp yet, and I hope people start to understand it more, because I think a lot of those phone calls would stop. Mm-hmm. When you peel all the gear off of those trucks and you take that truck, trade it in, the car lot, if they're a sizable car lot at all, any sort of Ford, Chevy, Dodge dealership is going to look at you and tell you it's worth 50 cents on the buck and that they don't even want it.
Right.
And I've got buddies that run car lots, and I'm like, wow, that seems crazy to me, because I would think that a lot of people would just want to buy one that's done and ready to roll. But their problem is the car lot can't be responsible for every single vehicle that comes into it, getting it fully shook down, checked out, and then the car salesperson, they're not mechanics. Mm-hmm. So when you put it on your website, and your website is World Wide Web, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody from California, Utah, Colorado calls and says, I'm really interested in that truck. I'd like to buy it. Car salesman's like happy to sell it. That's his job, right? Car salesman sells it to Utah. The guy comes to, let's just say it's Idaho, let's say it's Washington, buys the vehicle, drives it back to his home state, has to get emissions checked. Whoops.
Yep.
Doesn't pass.
Right.
So now that guy has a legal foot to stand on to sue the car lot for selling him a vehicle that's not even legal to drive.
Correct.
So then the car lot then in turn has to fly somebody down to Colorado to hand the poor fella his check back, jump in the truck and then drive it back home, and then figure out where we're going to get rid of this vehicle at. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that I'm full of crap when I say that, but it's a real thing right now.
Oh, it is.
And you come from a fairly large community. I mean, there's probably 6-7 million people in the western corridor of Washington.
Oh, I'm sure there is, yeah.
So every car lot you go to is going to be the exact same way.
Correct, yeah.
Like, you're always going to be able to go to the little rinky-dink kind of car lot that doesn't sell, they don't have an OEM brand. They don't have a Ford, a Chevy, or a Dodge behind them.
Correct.
And they're going to be going to auction and they're going to be buying vehicles. But even when they go to sell an aftermarket warranty on a modified vehicle, I've owned a shop, and I know I've had investigators hired by the insurance companies come to my shops and then walk out and do, a checklist. They sit down in my showroom and they email off a report with some photographs, and they let the insurance company know that this has been modified. There's no warranty on it.
Yep.
And within minutes, I get a phone call from the insurance company or an email from the insurance company saying, claims denied, vehicle's been warranty or modified, and this warranty's no good.
Oh, we do quite a bit of insurance work as well, instead of warranty stuff, and that's, a customer goes to whatever dealership, buys something, lift kit, rims, tires,
Yeah.
emissions delete, whatever's done to it,
Yeah.
and they expect to have extended warranty, and you bring it in, they're responsible for tear down, you get the adjuster there, the adjuster takes his pictures and it's denied, and the customer's kind of left out hanging, right?
Right.
Because they paid thousands of dollars for something they can't use.
At the car lot.
At the car lot.
So even though it came with 37s and big wide wheels that
Yep.
stick out, that kill ball joints,
Yep.
even though it came deleted,
Yep.
even though it came with all these things, and then he's like, oh, and by the way, you need to buy this aftermarket warranty to protect yourself.
Yep.
So they basically finance in a $2,500 or $3,000 warranty in on top of the car lot deal. They come to you and it's denied.
Yep. Really frustrating.
It is.
Yeah.
And my frustration with it is just because it's got bigger tires, wider wheels, should not kill every single portion of the warranty. If it's got 35s or 37s and the heater core fails, has nothing to do with tires.
Correct, yeah.
Common sense dictates if I'm in here for axle joints, U-joints, ball joints, undercarriage stuff, and it's got a much larger, wider, heavier tire, then probably it's going to definitely wear out undercar parts faster.
Correct, yeah.
So I can understand where an insurance company comes across and goes, nope, not going to warranty that. It did frustrate me because most of them insurance companies that I dealt with were really anything they could find on the vehicle. I can remember like people, they'd come in and they'd say an Edge CTS monitor.
Yep.
Which I like that monitor because it tells you when the vehicle's going into regen and the factory doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you use the Edge CTS monitor, the CTS 3, 2, 13, whatever they're up to, 421. It says regen, so I know not to shut my truck off during a regen cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that when it's regenning, I'm going to try and pump as much air through it as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have to manually shift the truck down to drive it at 2,000 RPM, instead of it being at 1400 RPM, I know that when I'm in regen, I'm going to do my very best to keep that regen cycle 100% pure and clean and let it function the emissions gear. I really did like the Edge monitor for that. There's another cool feature where you have a pyrometer.
Yeah.
And if you're towing heavy, like you've got camp trailers and things like that, if a guy's going up over a mountain pass and it's, 1,000 feet of elevation up to 6,000 feet of elevation, the air density changes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And with less air density, you're going to have more heat.
Yep.
So even though the truck's virtually stock with the exception of the monitor, having the monitor can help you keep that truck alive.
Yep.
And I've actually had insurance companies deny warranties because they found the CTS monitor.
That's irritating.
It was bad because then I had to try and spend all this time to explain to them that this is a good thing for you as the insurance company because he's trying to protect his investment.
Yeah.
No, it's added power, blah, blah, blah.
It's aftermarket.
It's aftermarket, and they just deny everything.
Yeah.
I hated that. I don't miss those days.
No, yeah, so it's frustrating, and it's a necessary part of the business, to keep work flowing and help people in our community, basically.
Yep.
Being a reputable shop that insurance companies recognize.
Yeah.
But no, it's always the worst. If something gets denied over rims, tires, we've had one that got denied over head studs on a 6-liter.
Say what?
So a 6-liter came in for warranty, so it was HPLP pump, I don't remember what it was, a few years ago. But
Okay.
the adjuster saw ARP head studs. Oh, aftermarket. Well, it's a better product.
But Ford, if you go to Ford today
Yeah.
and ask them to put head studs in your 6-liter or 6.4,
Yep.
they will do it.
Yep.
At the Ford garage.
Yep.
So that's how sticky insurance can be.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was kind of wanting to rap about just a little bit was this year, the climate of business has been difficult.
It's been weird, to say the least.
Yeah. You did tell me yesterday that you went through a period of about 3 weeks where it was dry.
It wasn't dry, but we could have used more work.
Yep.
Yeah. We had guys, doing, mechanics doing not mechanical work.
Mm-hmm.
Just work around the shop and doing some upkeep stuff around
Right,
the shop.
right. I really feel like, with stock market doing so good, as many people, and I hate seeing people unemployed, I really do, but as many people that are unemployed right now, and as good as commerce seems to be flowing, obviously the stimulus checks, obviously the PPPs, obviously all those things the government did for us as citizens has helped keep things afloat.
Yeah.
And where we're at right now today is insane because if you go, I don't know of any state out there that has a leftover used mini bike, motorbike, dirt bike, quad, ATV. I don't know of anybody out there that has anything left over. It seems to me like a lot of people, it's a great deal for you and I. We make parts, you install parts, we keep people's vehicles rolling down the road, and we're busy. Mm-hmm. The airlines are not so busy. Mm-hmm. You had a full row to yourself, right?
Yeah.
How many people were on the entire airplane?
There was one person per row on the whole plane.
Seriously?
Yeah. And it was one of the prop planes, one of the smaller ones.
Okay.
But,
so there's probably 35 rows.
Yeah.
So let's call it 70 people.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
It's tough to make a living when you're
Right.
flying an airplane with a third the passengers.
Right, yeah.
So what I've seen here, we have a lot of people passing. I drove to Missouri. We have an engine dyno in Missouri this year. I drove there, and I was going through, not just Idaho, but we get into Montana I have to drive clear across the state of Montana. And I swear to you, I saw all 50 states license plates when I was in Montana.
Oh, sure.
nobody wants to fly right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's driving.
Yeah.
Everybody's camp trailering. Everybody's driving. Everybody's hauling their ATVs. I love it because it's made all of us as like families. I feel like jumping in a tube and flying to Disneyland or flying to Mexico or flying to Aruba or whatever. When I was a kid, which was a long time ago now, we didn't do that. We jumped in the family's Blazer,
Yeah.
and we drove somewhere. We went fishing and we went camping and we did things. But the entire family was in this Blazer, cooped up. It was miserable, no air conditioning. You know, we weren't complaining. We weren't upset because we didn't have Wi-Fi or we couldn't be on our Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, we were just happy that we got there finally.
Yeah.
I feel like this year we kind of resorted to about a 10 or a 15 year ago period when it comes to family vacations.
Mm-hmm.
And for guys like you and I that are in the automotive industry, it seems like everybody's busy.
Yeah, all the shops back home are just super busy. Yeah, it's a blessing. You know, we have friends that own a restaurant and they had tough times, but now they adapted. They're back open now, which is good. But you know, it's seeing all these other small businesses around that are deemed inessential was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah. You know, politics again. To say that mom's yarn shop, right, mom's hobby shop, the flower shop, the gym, to say those things aren't essential.
Correct.
But yet let the Targets and the Walmarts sell gym equipment, sell flowers,
mm-hmm,
sell yarn. It seems completely backwards from the way America's supposed to be.
Right.
Like, we're supposed to be living off our own backs. We're supposed to be like small businesses supplying things, products, services, restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurants consume, potatoes, right? Potatoes are grown on farms. A lot of that stuff went away this year.
Yeah.
And it was still being fed by the bigger corporates. I just can't stand how this thing shook out.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we're almost through it. COVID's real, it kills people, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't think that it did near the number that people thought. Like, at first, like those weeks that you were dead slow,
mm-hmm,
we had a lot of warehouses that were buying product from us that were doing some knee-jerk reactions. And a lot of our consumers, we got injectors down here that are being tested.
mm-hmm,
And a lot of those consumers were wanting to stop, like right now. Don't do a thing. Leave them sit. I just gotta let it ride. I want to see where this is gonna land. And I do feel like consumer confidence is back up,
mm-hmm,
because people are buying.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah.
Like we're sending out quotes for injectors and testing and repairing injectors, things like that. People are back on.
And I think people are evolving the way they're spending too. Kind of like back in 08. People are being, I think some people are being frugal on certain things, but more forgiving on others, right? Just kind of, they'll spend money for something they really want, but they're saving as much as they can. And it's weird to see it at the shop with, repairs and upgrades. One guy will come in and want something ridiculous, and another guy will come in and need a bunch of work and only do the bare minimum. So
what do you mean by ridiculous, though?
Oh, when the stimulus checks, like, I want those injectors, or I want that turbo. Like, there's nothing wrong with the truck, but they want the upgrades.
Yeah. So it ran fine, but the emotional money's being spent again.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Like, I see that. Everybody I know that's an e-commerce kind of a person right now is crushing it.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest, I'm trying to buy an exhaust kit for my little Honda side-by-side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were with me yesterday. Every warehouse that we have in the United States can't get one for 2 months.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing because MBRP, good product. It's a sexy looking little piece. I love the way it looks. It sounds great. We heard one yesterday.
Yeah.
I should just go get that one.
So take it off the back.
Yeah. He would never notice. It was a nice part, but then I come home and I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to buy one. And they're like, no, we don't have one. No, we don't have one. And then I contact the rep that, from MBRP, and he's like, buddy, it's going to be 2 months before we're going to make another run of those.
Oh, jeez.
It's a toy.
Yeah.
It is a toy.
Yeah.
It is not something mandatory. It is not something people need. It is a side-by-side.
Yeah.
And they can't keep exhaust kits in stock for them.
The side-by-sides have just taken off here the past few years, too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we got a friend that has a shop down in Oregon, and he started a motorsports business just for the side-by-sides.
Yeah.
And it's just as busy, if not busier, than his diesel shop.
Right.
Shocking.
That's again, like, I feel like in a weird way, so you came from heavy truck. I've been in light truck for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Bought a dyno. Back then it was $2,000 was a Ford, Chevy, or Dodge. We had a $2,500 package. Was gauges, airbox, exhaust, and some fuel mod to make some power. We dynoed it for you, sent you down the road, and each one of those packages took me about a day, whether it's a Ford, Chevy, or Dodge. We got into, as time went on, those trucks only made 300 horsepower to the rear tires.
Yeah.
And now you can go buy a brand new truck and it makes 375 to the rear horsepower, or to the rear tires.
Yeah.
The torque's better. The transmissions they're not even worse than they used to be. They're way better than they used to be. But people hate them and want to convert those out of these trucks because they're not as durable as they could be built.
Correct.
But yet you're still, when you have more gears, you're always in the meat of the horsepower. You're always in the top of the curve.
Yeah.
With what people aren't remembering is back in 2000, a Dodge truck or a Ford, let's say an F-350, probably weighed 75 to 7,800 pounds. And you got in them and it sounded like you were inside the Folgers can and somebody was like tapping on it from the outside. They were horrible.
Yeah.
They were noisy. It wasn't the same. Today, we have common rail technology, which makes them really nice and quiet.
Yep.
Our exhaust kits with SCR, DPF make them extremely quiet.
Yep.
The sound deadening material throughout the entire cab is so bougie.
Oh yeah.
Like the door panels are all modularized. They're plastic lined. They're a nice tight little unit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you get in one and you're like, man, this thing's really quiet.
Yeah.
You don't have to yell at your buddy.
Right.
Your dad that has hearing aids, he hears everything. He's not, what'd you say? None of that, these trucks. But now you can't buy a truck that's less than probably 8,000 or 9,000 pounds is pretty common.
Yeah.
And that's something that when they're talking about how slow their truck is or whatnot, it's not just a lack of power anymore. It's the fact that to make your air conditioned and heated seats go in the truck, they now weigh 300 pounds more than non-air conditioned, non-heated seats.
Yeah, you got when the added stuff from the emissions and the safety features and all the other stuff, like
dual line glass,
right? Yeah.
Safety liner in between the glass panes. Yeah. It all adds up. It's all pounds.
Oh yeah.
In our race trucks, we take all the glass out, we throw plexiglass in there, and we save 200 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. All this stuff that makes them more comfortable, it comes at a cost.
Oh, it does. Well, the comfort and the fuel mileage of the new stuff now is actually pretty shocking. It's
The new mileage, the newer trucks mileage-wise, when right now it's averaging about 13, and that's a 1-ton dually. With the other injectors in it, it averaged about 17. And towing, now it'll drop down to 7.5, 8. With the other injectors in it, it would drop down to about 9 or 10. So to drive something as heavy as it is, that tows the way it does, and still gets almost 10 miles per gallon towing.
Well, with the emissions too, you're collecting all the carbon, all the NOx, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really, a lot of people complain about the lack of power and this, and it doesn't sound good, but it's what it's doing. The job that portion of the vehicle has is a really important job, and when it's working efficiently, it's really quite amazing what it does.
Yeah. And if you're using the truck for what we really should be using the truck for, which is camp trailers, towing our side-by-sides, towing our boats. Boats have to be a huge thing out by you.
Oh yeah, boats, boat trailers. Oh yeah. So we don't do any marine work. A lot of boat trailers.
Yeah,
a lot of boat trailers.
But as far as people coming out to you and seeing you, they're probably moving a lot of fishing boats.
A lot of recreational boats, salmon boats, that kind of stuff. Every May we get a lot of phone calls for ejected wheels on the way out to go halibut fishing. I usually, plan on about 15 boat trailers coming in.
Seriously.
Oh yeah.
What about dudes showing up Because I know it's kind of a thing, like you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you're going to leave the wife and the kids at home, you're going to take an extended weekend with your buddies, and there's going to be 4 or 5 guys that go do like an Airbnb on somebody's boat and go fishing.
That's more like out in the ocean, because that's out on the coast.
Oh, because you're in the Sound.
Yeah, we're in the Sound.
Yeah.
That's a lot of guys going chasing halibut around and
Got it.
salmon out in the blue water.
Got it. All right. So it's a little bit different being where you're at.
Yeah.
Huh. No, yeah.
Yeah, the hardest thing for us being on the peninsula is parts, right? Parts in Seattle, you can jump on a boat, get there in an hour and a half. You want a part shipped from Seattle, it's a day. You know, you want something from like Utah to us, it's 3 days.
Right.
Utah to you is probably what, 2?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. So we're a shorter distance, but a longer time.
And when I was in Monroe, it seemed like everything you wanted was 4 to 6 hours away.
Yeah.
Because like you say, it would come from Seattle, it would come from somewhere.
Yep.
And you could just place the call. And when I got here out into the country, I'm like, when?
Yeah.
What? Are you sure? Like, how come? Well, it's gonna go from Portland to Royal City out to Spokane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, and the truck freight thing with us is a nightmare, right? Because all like the big boys, like ATS, right? They ship a transmission with their shipping supplier. They
Yep.
drop it in Tacoma.
Yep.
Then it's picked up by our local company that delivers the peninsula.
Yep.
They're a great outfit, but it's, another day, sometimes 2 days to get the part
Right.
to our shop, which
Right.
is, we just plan for it, but for a customer, it gets, I want my truck. Sorry.
Right.
It's en route, out for delivery.
Yeah. No, that's it's all stuff. And then as consumers, like I say, you guys are on the front lines.
Yeah.
Consumers, I guess if you sell it to them and you warn them up front,
Oh, yeah.
this is when it's going to show up.
Yeah.
It's all okay.
Well, it'll be fine, but the Amazons of the world, Prime, next day, blah, 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 is really, that instant gratification with everybody. It's like a false reality, right?
Yeah.
And it's, what do you mean I can't have my injectors tomorrow? Well, they're
Right.
coming from Idaho, and they're being custom built for your truck. Like, it takes a couple of days.
Yeah. And then, also like the one thing that I really want Amazon to do is I want to deliver pizza.
Right?
Because I know they're going to start using drones.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to get that thing a little faster. Because,
Right.
Domino's used to brag, like, we'll be there in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think they crashed a few cars, like delivery drivers got a little bit hurt. So they couldn't promise 30 minutes anymore.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But, if we could drone a pizza, life would be pretty solid.
Yeah.
Until it gets to be super popular and drones start crashing into each other.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
But, if you're just a drone operator, like sitting in the room, just flying the drone, looking at your phone screen, and you show up to my house and I walk out and pick up the pizza before my dog does,
That'd be kind of neat.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
but
really think that'd be pretty awesome. And those guys, yeah, they're killing small business, but as consumers, we want it right now.
Yeah.
All of us. Nobody wants to wait for it. And I hate it because they're really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you want, no matter how you want it, no matter what size, no matter what color, you can damn near find it between Amazon or eBay.
Yep.
You can find it within seconds.
Yep.
But then you go to the mall, and the mall is empty.
Yep.
Like the mall is basically where people go to get exercise, to just hot lap, and then you got some poor company there paying rent, and nobody's there to really shop anymore. It's really unfortunate.
And one pitfall we see with mainly the eBays of the world is bogus parts or junk offshore parts. A guy comes up, hey, I want you to install these injectors.
Right.
Truck doesn't run or runs for a short while.
Right,
Or
right.
we've had a number of years ago, a guy supplied his own 6-liter heads, and one of my technicians opens the box, pulls the cylinder head out, sets it on the assembly table, and casting sand's falling out of it. So you take the head, send it to a machine shop, get it cleaned,
Torn apart.
right?
Yeah,
So the
washed.
guy didn't save any money.
No,
He's
no.
super pissed, and just one of those deals.
Yeah.
And eBay, in my opinion, eBay is not a place to get any parts. That's my personal opinion.
We did. I bought gaskets, exhaust manifold gaskets on eBay like a year-ish or 2-ish ago. And I was pretty surprised because it looked like a really nice part. Actually, it was multi-layer steel gaskets. And they were stupid cheap. Like I bought 10 sets or something. And of course we burned through them. But as far as that's an exhaust manifold gasket. There's almost nothing that can really go wrong there.
Except for leaking.
Yeah, but you're right. Like with a head gasket or a cylinder head
Or an injector.
And then,
common
yeah,
rail
injector. We do compete against some companies that are really, really good, and we compete against some companies that are not good at all.
Yeah.
That being said, there's a you know, you always hear the term, there's an ass for every seat, and it seems like there's a buyer for every part.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's like when the guy wants it good, fast, and cheap, you truthfully get to pick two.
Yeah.
And if you want cheap, it's either not going to be fast or it's not going to be good.
Right.
Because cheap's in the equation, you're not going to get one or the other.
Correct, yeah.
And with inexpensive or cheap parts, quite often, you know, I can show you the outside of an injector, and now that you've seen with, you know, microscopes and borescopes and vision centers, some of the really small details that we're looking at, hole quality, hole cleanliness, K factor, MMs cubed delivered, like all of that stuff, just the smallest little tweaks, like 3 seconds on the hone was making 10 cube delivery changes until it doesn't, and that's when we know we need to back up 3 seconds on the hone, and we make the perfect part.
Yeah, that was awesome to see that going down today.
It was, you know, we should talk about that. So basically this morning, yesterday you got to work with the guys and see how we calibrate things. So when you go home, you can be like, hey, look, I've been to Dynomite Diesel. I know the guys that calibrate. I know how they do it. I know what the stands look like. I know what it's like to be there. It'll give you a lot of confidence when you try and sell the parts. It'll also give you the ability to reach out to somebody here when you have a quick question. And if I can't answer it all the time, Matt, Adrian, Skylar, whoever, now you know which guy kind of does what. So on top of that, that was just yesterday, and Skylar and I were working on a headache project that we ended up just shipping out because we don't have the grinding techniques that we need here to make that part correct. It would have made our parts horrible. Period. So we just gave up on it. We spent a day on it, gave up on it. We're going to send it out to a grinding shop, get things made perfectly. And like I told you this morning, it'll probably take me, this whole project will probably take me 2 to 3 months before we're actually getting it done correctly. But when it's finally done correctly, and let's just say it's 3 months, Christmas, the consumer in Australia won't be calling us up or messaging us with headaches or problems. He's just going to be happy that he can send parts in. We finally have all the tools laid out in front of us. We can get it done effectively and correctly in a time efficient manner. All of this stuff that we do, these things, they're not a lot of them fast. And then this morning I thought, wow, you know, like it'd really be cool to sit here with you and talk to people about something kind of exciting, which big stuff's always exciting. Something that flows when you see little tiny tweaks and changes make big differences.
Huge difference.
And listening to certain things, injectors sound right and they sound wrong. And you got to hear what it sounded like right, and I know that we've made 2,500 horsepower of that injector. We made some changes to it that weren't bad changes, they were just changes. But it did bad things. And then it sounded wrong. Even in the test stand you could hear it sounds dry, it sounds empty, and then MM's cube drops off. That injector still would have made an easy 2,300 horsepower. Easy. But it wasn't right. And it probably would have led to some sort of failure over time because between the upper and lower chamber and the injector, it's going to be dry for a portion of time, and you hear it in the stand. You don't hear it if I just send you the parts, put them in your truck, and go rip it. You're not going to hear all that. You're not going to hear the injector. You've got the motor, you've got the turbo, you've got the exhaust, you've got all this other noise that overcomes all that. You don't get to hear that. What we decided to do after, you know, there was some good thought that went into that, because I'm like, man, I could back off the hole size, I could increase that hole, there's several options. And it took some experience to finally figure out, like, all right, I've got other things that I need to be doing, but I want you to do this, because if we ruin it, we're only ruining one part, and it's okay. So we punted, we made the call, Skylar did what he needed to do, and then we picked up, overall, I think it was just almost 30 MMs cubed. So between a little bit bigger nozzle, a little bit bigger control valve, and we're up 25, 30 mm cubed. And it sounds right again. That's the kind of stuff that, like, when you head home and you're talking to people, or if you're if you put something in and you have problems with it, you call us back, you'll kind of know how we go about like getting to the bottom of it. That's what makes me happy about this trip.
Nice.
Like, we get to go to dinner,
Yeah.
get to go to breakfast, get to hang out and have a good time. But you being here and actually getting to see what we do and how we go about doing it, like, I could be worried that you were going to run home, sell everything you've got, and then build your own injection shop.
Yeah.
But, and it could happen, right? Like, I could get stung. Like, it might not be you, but it might be the next guy we invite here.
Correct, yeah.
But it's still, even if it was you, it won't be, I know that.
Yeah.
My dog likes you, so obviously you're a good guy. No, if what we don't oftentimes think of, or what we, the asset and the value to something. So if I sell you a part and it works, you make money on it, you wave bye to your customer and he goes away happy forever, it worked good for both of us.
Yeah.
There should be no reason for you to want to get out of what you're really good at already to jump into a whole new venue of life.
Oh, correct, yeah.
And then try and risk it.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about everybody trying to come after me and copy me per se.
Yeah.
Because the moment you're still trying to, even if you did it, even if you sold everything you had and you bought everything that I've got, it would still take you years to catch up to us mentally and have all the tools in the toolbox mentally to be able to make those calls, those judgments. Having the tools is only a small portion of it.
Oh, correct, yeah.
And I think with, because you and I, we've gotten along well, but we got along well because you had some other issues and I never gave you the same issues. It was easy to get along with somebody that's like appreciative of what it is we're providing.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to be on the front lines. Like, it's a tough job.
Yeah. It can be. It's most days it's good, but it can be rough, It can be.
You say most days it's good.
Yeah, most days it's good. I got a good crew though, It's
Well, that
got
helps.
really good
Yeah,
crew.
that helps.
Yeah.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
I guess I was on the front line long enough that, and I was, I think I just figured it out. When I was on the front line, I was putting up with telephone calls. We had 7, phones, 7 lines. I had the injector shop, and I had consumers walking in the front door, and everybody always needed my attention. And it spread me so thin that I wasn't able to get awesome at any single one task. So I would grab the phone and already be in a bad mood because I'm wasting my time on the phone talking to some guy about putting an exhaust kit or an airbox in his truck when I should be out building parts, and I'm already stumped on something out there. So I didn't fix that because I was off over here, and then one of the mechanics breaks something. Did that ever happen to you?
Oh yeah. Every once in a while.
And then you're out there trying to like get the bolt out of the hole, do things that you're not doing. So when I eliminated the shop service side and then started basically teaming up with, we've got a bunch of WDs and we're not trying to steal their clients directly, but what we're trying to do is whoever the WD sells to is basically the people on the front line. So whether you buy from Premier or Meyer or XDP or Turn 14 or whoever your WD is, whoever that is, they're basically getting a piece of the portion, so we don't have to stop and make one set.
Yeah.
We can make 10 sets, put them on their shelf. We get the cash flow back. We can then make the next 10 sets of something else. They go on the shelf again, and then the shop. The end guy gets to buy something good that goes under the hood, makes the consumer go away happy. And I know in a perfect world, that's how it's supposed to go kind of all the time. And yesterday, Anthony Reeves from XDP sends me a picture first. Well, I guess I was already on the phone. You were sitting next to me. I was already on the phone, and I get a photograph of something. I was on the phone, so I couldn't see it. And then this morning, basically, long story short, hey Len, I just had a first for Dynomite.
What's that?
Yeah, what's that, Anthony? I got a guy that says he's filling the crankcase with diesel after putting your injectors in as fast as he can run this thing. It's filling the crankcase. All right, well, XDP buys a lot from us, so what do we need to do? Like, I'll just send you an injector. What is it? So I had him send me a text message where the injector needed to go. And we sent the injector. They got the new injector today. The injector came out, and sure enough, one of the nuts that holds the solenoid down, that had split. When that split, I have no idea, but I know it was after testing.
Yeah.
Because you saw how we test them. And if that, it's an obvious crack, like visual to the eye, it's split. If that would have been done during the test procedures, it would have been just a shower of calibration oil in the stand.
Yeah.
So it happened, and it got, this is a reman part.
Yeah.
So that part could have been made in 2003 to 2015, 16 probably, and that one nut decided to give it up.
Yeah.
So, we take care of him. He's down the road. He's happy he's gone. We're going to get the other injector back, and for, I don't know, $2, I'm going to replace that little part, and it's going to be a brand new reman for somebody else.
Yeah.
The weirdest stuff happens at the weirdest times.
Oh, correct, yeah.
And nobody ever has the patience for it. So after you being here for a day, to put you on the spot, how do you think that do you think we're doing the best job we can do?
Yeah, I really do. Seeing, working with the guys yesterday, seeing how you guys first balance the nozzles and then balance the bodies, measuring your MMs cubed, return rates, and all that. 'Cause that's one of our biggest things we chase around the shop is return rates on the common rails.
Right.
And to come in and see, like when it leaves here, you have a box that it has to land into, and to be down there helping the guys take these things apart, put it together, all the little pieces and parts inside the injector, and how they're all inspected, and what parts are new and what's being reused, and it's really neat to see, and have, be able to know now by the number on the injector, which, I've seen a few guys make them, and which penmanship, and be able to tell us by looking at the injector
Who built that set? Yeah.
That's super neat.
Now, you've been using our stuff since 18, so 2 years-ish?
Yeah.
And it's completely fine, even though we're on camera. Have we had any issues yet to date?
I think we've had, I'm trying to remember, we had one, I'm trying to remember how it went. We had something, and you were talking about it, and I think we sent it in. And
We had a CB4 pump.
CB4 pump, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys dropped one in the mail, and we sent it back to you, and everything was happy.
You know what's funny about that is this year, so I sent you a pump. I walked up to Brian's office and I'm like, dude, I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's getting this wrong. I think he's got a bad pump. Brian's like, man, that'd be the first one, like ever. Because we buy those right from the OEM.
Yeah.
Pass it off to you, done is done, right? So you put it in, couldn't make pressure with it. And since that date, which was, I feel like that was probably 6 or 8 months ago.
6 or 8 months ago, yeah.
I had another cat call me up yesterday when I pulled in, before I picked you up at the airport. I swung through the gas station, washed my windshield quick, and got rid of a bunch of trash because I'd just driven. I'm trying to get as many miles on my truck as I can right now, just so I can log DEF and diesel both. So there was like an empty burrito wrapper and some other garbage, and I was like, well, if I'm picking this guy up, I don't want his first impression to be like, has he ever not lived in this truck? So I did a quick dump, and then at that moment I had another guy, Jonah Bunch's easel. He's going to be here in December, I believe, but he's been selling our product as well. He called me yesterday and he's like, Len, I got a 6.7 Power Stroke, new injectors, new pump, and I can't get this thing to make any rail. And I was like, Jonah, just shy of me telling you to send it in and we have to test it and do this, that, and the other, I said, I honestly think it's the pump. So call my shop, order up a brand new pump right now, and then put a call tag. We'll put a call tag out for that pump. And he's like, well, just like that? I'm like, yeah, just like that, because this would now be probably the third CP4 pump in a Power Stroke that we've not had working correctly out of the box.
Yeah, that's always a Power Stroke on a motor job. You all put that together and put the key, and you're like, ah.
Yeah. So I think, what we can do better is, even though we're just taking a brand new, and really truthfully, honestly, we don't have a lot of problems with the OEM stuff. Like, it's very, very small, but it would take us minutes. So I think that one of the things that we'll talk about this coming Monday is making sure that we're testing every single CP3, CP4 pump before we ship it, because that would have prevented that call, and it would have prevented the call yet.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, like we're moving a lot of pumps, so it's not like it's every day. But you've met the 2 new kids.
Yep.
We got 2 new guys here. We had 1 girl quit. We had to hire 2 dudes to cover up for her. I do miss her. She was really good at her job, but the company is growing to the point where even when she was here, we were running the ragged edge all the time, and the little projects that we wanted to do, they weren't getting done because the people that had the skill set to do the cream type jobs were having to do the entry level jobs as well.
Yeah.
So when Harley quit, I just decided it was time to replace her with 2, because I know that we're going to be busier and busier and busier, and I figured if we're going to spend the time to train 1, might as well spend the time to train 2 at the same time. So now you see we got 1 guy either on the hone or 1 guy building mechanicals. They've spent like kind of a 3-and-3 swap over this week. We're doing some things to change things and try and keep up with things. And it just makes me happy that you're a bigger dude than me, so I don't really want you angry with me anyways. But it makes me happy when customers are happy with us.
Well, and like the videos you put up on YouTube explaining, how this stuff works and what you're doing. We cast videos of yours and stuff from ATS and some of the other vendors we use up to the TV in the showroom.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you're thinking of this product, watch this video.
Yeah.
And it's really, really helpful, to see, the fact that I have your 10-hole in my truck, your, 12 mil stroker pump, got an ATS transmission. And,
right.
We install the parts that we sell.
Right.
Right. That's like, I'm not going to sell something that we're not going to put on our own stuff.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. That's cool. And one thing that did I tell you yet that we're building an addition out back?
Yeah, you mentioned somebody.
All right. So Matt, camera guy right now, he's a hell of a wrench. Like he can turn wrenches quite well. And something that I kind of dream of Dynomite doing is having a spot where we can walk out in the backyard, go to the addition, set up cameras, and do full-on installation videos. Not that I want to take away from the shops. Not that I want every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there to try and install his own stuff. But when you go to a shop that's never installed something, some of these trucks you get so technical that if they don't have the one right wrench, the one right pry bar, it doesn't go right.
Right. Yeah.
So when we get the building up, we'll have a new dual load cell dyno. We're going to be doing that for some EO testings, and by the time I leave here and head to California to get the certifications done, I want to know that we're going to pass.
Yeah.
It's a really expensive trip if we go there and fail.
Yeah.
It's a profitable trip if we go there and pass. So we're setting up our own home-based testing station, but on top of that, the other section of that shop is going to be where Matt, and then we've got one other guy here, one of the new guys, and I'm going to have Matt watching him, videoing him, and supervising him to do all the installation videos. So when some consumer goes, how much do you want to put a CP4 pump in my truck? He can look at our video on the YouTube and go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
That's a long job.
Yeah.
That's not 45 minutes because you go to so many blogs, you go to Facebook, and you get some jerk that's like, oh, they're just trying to rip you off. They want 17 hours to do that. It took me 45 minutes in my driveway. Hal, you're leaving out the fact that yours is still hanging from, barbed wire underneath your hood.
Yeah.
I do want to educate everybody and make sure everybody's doing things correctly and right. And I know that between Matt filming and with his skill level to try and show the new guy where things go and how things go and why we're torquing them and why we're using these tools, I think it's going to help everybody else. Mm-hmm. You've got a great crew at your shop.
Yeah.
Does everybody?
Right, yeah.
Does everybody that's got a toolbox really deserve that toolbox?
Right, yeah, I can see that.
No.
Yeah.
Like I've actually, we've had people, I kind of say, like, if you're awesome on a computer, you're not ever going to be awesome out of a toolbox.
and vice versa.
Yeah, I can see that.
You get a guy that's really great, and well, like you talked about your father-in-law,
Yeah.
and he was like the maestro of like mechanics.
Yeah.
Horrible with people and customers.
Yeah.
Like probably not super great on a computer.
I think he's pretty good, but yeah, no, I can
Was
see what
he?
you're saying. He was all right.
Yeah?
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Huh? That's kind of surprising.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just something you had to do. You had to learn it.
Oh.
But it was still a hunt and peck. And, you know.
Yeah, so that's my point. Like it was a hunt and peck, even though he was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's how I type. Come on, guy.
You're getting by. You're not great at it.
Yeah, not great at it at all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's been fun having you here.
Oh, thanks.
Really, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you spending a few minutes and trying to explain to people, you know, what it is we do, why we're doing it, things like that. Yeah, thanks, man.
Cool, bud.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, see you later.
Yeah.
Guys, Lenny Reed, Dynomite Diesel.
Thanks, Bernie. Flying Ranch Services. Take care.